Good morning, Max Living Faithful. Welcome to part one of our two-part masterclass on heart health. As you may have heard in the lead-up video that we did about heart health is still currently the most prevalent and the most deadly condition in America today. So while there's certainly been way more in the news about other things, heart disease is the top killer of Americans, and many of the things that are being done for prevention of other things that make the news, as well as many lifestyle decisions, are really the cause of it. So you hear people say, well, it's genetic. My mom had a heart attack. My dad had a heart attack. Whatever. Certainly there's genetic predispositions, but now almost 20 years ago, the Human Genome Project, when they sequenced the human genetic chain, they found that essentially every single person on this planet, and especially every single person in America, has the genetics for heart disease. So it's not that you are unlucky in the overwhelming majority of cases. It's more that you turn these genes on. It's the term of epigenetics. So if you're a note taker today, one of the first things to write down is epigenetics, EPI genetics. What epigenetics are like a light switch. I'm in my home right now, the room I'm in. You can turn the lights on and off. The lights are always there. You could, if I flip the switch, they turn on. Similarly, with genetics, the genetics for heart disease or for having a heart attack are always there, but you turn them on or you exacerbate them through a series of decisions, whether that's what you're eating, the stress level that you're under, the toxins you're either intentionally or unintentionally consuming, the exercise routine you have, the neurologic activity you have, or the spinal alignment that you have. These things turn on or turn off your genetics. So just like you can turn them on, you can turn them off. And that's the beautiful thing about this, is no matter where you're at on the spectrum for health, the decisions that you make today or the action steps that you choose to take on a consistent level moving forward can radically affect the course of your life. So the power very much is in your hands. And so I would encourage you today to really look at what action steps or what lifestyle things do you know you need to either continue or you need to change. And we're really going to cover not just the what, but the why. A big thing about heart health, like people know sugar's bad for you or they should exercise, but why? What does it do? How does it affect you? How is it compared to, let's say, medication that you might consume for the same symptom or risk factor? And so we're really striving to empower you with actions that can make you confident to be a better version of yourself. And additionally, let's say, get off that medication or not need it. Now, many of the things or the topics that I'm going to cover are referenced in a book that I'll share with you. This book is my favorite book on heart health. I've read well over a dozen books on medication reactions, how they work, different things that affect your heart. But this book specifically, The Paleocardiologist by Dr. Jack Wolfson, is the best resource for being confident and knowledgeable in heart health. And so we have purchased 50 additional books for this seminar. So some of you had them from a couple years ago when we did our heart health seminar and gave them out. If you haven't read it or browsed through it in a while, I encourage you to do so. But if you don't have one, I would strongly encourage you to watch both videos and turn your card in as soon as possible, and you will receive a book on us, fully complimentary. Our only request is that you choose to get a book, that you start reading it immediately, that you really empower yourself and help those people you love and care about. So, moving forward here, the last thing that I'll say is, for anyone that wants help, that knows that they have the knowledge but really wants help, we do have a complimentary, if you're a current client, we have a complimentary what's called life risk questionnaire or nutrition and lifestyle assessment that can be done with our nutritionist, Mackenzie. And so she will sit down with you after you fill out a online template which takes about 10 minutes. She'll sit down with you and go over your risk factors, your lifestyle, your action steps, and she can go through some simple things you need to do or some complex things if you really want to dig into it. So that is also a complimentary assessment within the next month. So for the month of June, for people who have watched the Heart Health seminar. So again, lots of action steps, lots of resources for you so that you can be the absolute best version of yourself. And frankly, why do we do this? We do it because we want to be the answer for people for everything except emergencies and surgeries. We want to empower you through natural health care. There is a very, very sad reality with the way that people treat their health and trust in, unfortunately, I'm going to say trust in the more traditional medical community for answers. America, as you may know, has the highest medication consumption in the world by far. More painkillers, more steroids, more high blood pressure pills, more cholesterol drugs, more stringent restrictions or allowances to give medication. So for instance, to get on a cholesterol lowering medication, the exact same person in another country with your numbers might not have that medication recommended. There's also things that show, like with high blood pressure medication, that if you're under a certain blood pressure number, that the medication actually has more damage to your body than the higher blood pressure. And we'll go over that in the blood pressure section. So really stay tuned and dig in. I'd encourage you to take notes. So the first word is epigenetics. That's the first word to write down and know regarding heart disease and your heart. And then the second thing to do is to make a list of action steps. So to make a list of action steps, because the action that you take will be the one. So I hope for many of you, you do the life risk questionnaire with Mackenzie. I hope for many of you, you start doing something or stop doing something immediately upon watching these videos. Now, the slide, if you're watching this on your phone, the slide I have up right now says your incredible heart. And we could go into, how many hundreds of thousands of gallons or millions of gallons your heart beats per minute, or, but here's the reality. And I'd encourage you to think this way. Your body does the right thing at the right time with the resources involved. So your body does the right thing at the right time with the resources it has available. So let me give you an example outside of heart disease. Your body making a tumor is likely your body encapsulating cancer that would otherwise run wild and kill you at a much faster pace than the cancer in the tumor does. So the tumor tries to keep the cancer that's actively growing in. Now, in a healthier body, the body would be able to kill the cancer completely. But if it's not able to, the next logical step is it encapsulates it with a tumor. With arthritis or deterioration occurs to slow down. So when your body adds bone spurs and they grow together, it's to keep you from breaking so that you could still function. With your heart, for instance, pooling of fluid in your feet happens because the arteries can't pump the fluid away from through your body as well, but it prioritizes blood flow to your organs, which are going to keep you alive much longer. This is how people can stay alive but be in absolutely terrible health. And another person at the exact same age can have none of those problems. Your body will prioritize. One last example, neuropathy related to diabetes goes to your extremities first because it keeps and protects and puts the available nutrients to the areas that are essential for keeping you alive. So your body does the right thing at the right time with the resources it has available. And if you believe that, then you can think of not necessarily as yourself as broken, but more importantly as yourself as a response to the situation that you're in. So going back to the history of heart disease is also not the most common killer in human history, by no means. Now, heart disease, in fact, was a very low cause of death even 100 years ago. So what has happened? What has changed? Well, first of all, people are living longer. There's no debate about that. specifically, although we like to say that vaccinations or certain things are what eradicated disease, if you really look at the history, the eradication of many diseases is simply sanitation, clean water, not having the toilet run back into the same water that you drink, cleaning up or essentially avoiding infectious disease on a regular basis and having a lower amount come in contact with is the biggest link to increased life expectancy. The next is availability of resources and food. But heart disease, regardless, has gone up even since we have had the sanitation or the clean water and availability of food. Heart disease, percentage-wise, has continued to go up year after year, and it goes up specifically with increases in the stuff we know we shouldn't be doing, but do it often through convenience. And so what do I mean by that? Well, heart disease continues to go up with processed food consumption, with what they would call man-made food. Heart disease also goes up as people become more sedentary. Heart disease goes up with increased toxicity. So that's the one that a lot of people don't think about. So increased toxicity from everything from plastic leaching into the food, or preservatives, or hand sanitizer, and all this crap that people use to protect themselves. All this stuff actually has a side effect. So heart disease has gone on the rise and has stayed the top disease killer, or the top killer overall, for well over 40 years at this point. And even though we might have an American Heart Association or certain things, the scary thing is, if you look into their background, they are paid for and funded by the drug companies or their closet charities that don't necessarily make the best information available, but they are the things that make the best money. So they sell a story that benefits the drug companies. They sell a story, and you can look back, charities and not-for-profits. The majority of them that support these organizations, while many people donate with good intentions, I believe we are being duped as a nation and as a group. And in the last 2 years, I think that's never been more obvious. But let's go through a couple of the big ones first. So diet, processed foods. If you look at this slide, you'll see on the far left looks something like McDonald's. So think about, so let's just say you make chicken nuggets at home. So if you made chicken tenders at home, the food you would use hopefully would be some sort of grass-fed or free-range chicken cut into pieces, then maybe dipped in egg or some sort of healthy oil, maybe coconut oil. And then even if you use, let's say, breadcrumbs, which might not be the best, some sort of pico breadcrumb, almond flour, and then fried in some sort of oil. And again, ideally like avocado oil or coconut oil. And then you could fry them in a pan, you could fry them in a deep fryer, you could fry them in an air fryer. The chicken nuggets you're looking at on that slide probably have 50 ingredients, 20 different versions of GMO corn. If you go to McDonald's, if you remember the movie Super Size Me, which is still available online, the guy at McDonald's 3 meals a day and gained, I forget if it was 30 pounds or 50 pounds in 1 month. So eating 90 McDonald's meals was so toxic to his body, and he looked absolutely horrible. If you remember this, if you watched that video, if you haven't watched the video and you struggle with being addicted to processed foods or McDonald's, watch Super Size Me. Holy cow. It'll make you never want to eat fast food ever again. But there's a huge difference in all that processing in the McDonald's chicken nuggets from the movie Super Size Me. They deep fry them twice. They deep fry them before they freeze them and ship them to the restaurant, and then they deep fry them again. Like I said, 20 some, and they deep fry them in horrible oils and omega-6 highly processed trans fat oils are radically linked to inflammation, blood clots, heart disease, all that kind of stuff. So, when you go to a restaurant, like one of the things I do with my children is we do dates, like one-on-one, 1 hour with each kiddo. And one of their more favorite things to do is at least once a week with one of them, we'll go to breakfast. And if you go to breakfast here in Rockford, the majority of the breakfast places cook in these bad oils. So you have to ask if you want your eggs, your hash browns, your vegetables, your whatever. If you don't ask for it to be cooked in butter, you get margarine or trans fat, terrible oils. If you haven't watched in a while, if you haven't been to one of our Shop with the Docs or gone to one of our Shop with the Doc programs, the Shop with the Doc goes through, and specifically we look at in the oil section of the grocery store, you go down there, and the oils that are good for you overwhelmingly are in tinted glass containers. Like olive oil is in a tinted glass container because omega-6 oils, they go bad just in sunlight. They're very sensitive to heat. The other oils, like if you have not Crisco, but the the vegetable oils that go in your pantry or go in under your sink, you'll notice they're in a clear plastic container. And if you think about, well, why is that? It's because they're dead. They've been washed on average with 5 chemicals, including a Windex type chemical to make them clean, another chemical to take the rancid smell away, another chemical that killed it initially, that made them cloudy looking or rancid smelling, because these oils don't handle shelf life very well. And why do they kill them then? Convenience. It's convenience. It's not for your health. It's for convenience. So again, diet, processed foods, high carbohydrates, too many omega-6 fatty acids. Again, all these things are subsidized many times by the government. They're, white bread. One of the reasons white bread lasts so long is even microbes don't want to eat it. So think about that. They're smart enough not to eat it because there's no nutritional content to it. And yet humans are dumb enough to eat it on a regular basis. So one of the comments on here says, let food be your medicine. Famous Hippocrates quote. For many people, it's a mindset shift from what tastes good to what do I need to eat to fuel my body. The last thing I'll say about food, just in a general statement or general standpoint, is that your body is so cool, your body is so dynamic that you will make new taste buds. You will start to like different foods if you consistently put them in your mouth. So for instance, if you feel like you don't like certain fruits or vegetables, what research shows is for the majority of the time, if you try that fruit or vegetable or really any food 6 weeks in a row, your body will start to add taste buds for a liked or acquired taste. So you can actually shift this. One of the examples I used that I've used in the past, from 30 years ago when I was a young child, one of the things we did when I went with my grandfather to work on the farm is we always stopped at the Casey's gas station and got cake donuts. And it was one of those emotional foods where I didn't necessarily eat donuts unless I went by a Casey's. Then there was almost like this pull to go in and get this specific type. Certain people are addicted to gas station pizza. Certain people are addicted to McDonald's. Certain people are addicted to dessert, whatever it might be. But the advanced eating plan, the first time that I did that, so the advanced eating plan, we can go into in a little bit, but ultimately cutting all refined carbohydrates, moderating protein, eliminating high glycemic even carbs for fruit or like potatoes, increasing healthy fats and avoiding more toxins. And if you want an exact breakdown of that, read the 3 chapters in the Align Your Health book, chapter 3, 4, and 5, and appendix A, and you can really get a more detailed approach of what that is. But the first time I did that, so I was probably 23 or 4 years old at the time, I stopped at a Casey's, bought a cake donut, and had this awful film in my mouth. It just tasted terrible. Yet the previous time, there was an addiction. And so when you make this switch and you avoid these foods over a long enough period of time, you actually can avoid the feeling that you get with that. And so that's a big deal. So making these changes, making an action step to not only avoid the foods, but cut that. One other example was like sugar cereal. Like when I was a young child, Trick cereal, which had all those, like, it's got all sorts of artificial sweeteners and colorings and crap. Like I took a couple bites of it at a hotel one time and it just tasted awful. But some people don't know how they can give that up or how they can expect their children to give that up. I mean, the things that you do now for yourself and your children radically affect the way that they will process and eat in the future. So, you have control of that, parents and grandparents. And second thing, stress. As many people know, people have more heart attacks when they're stressed, whether that's with their job, whether that's now, simple example for heart disease, heart attacks nearly double the week after Christmas. More people die from heart attacks the week after Christmas than any other week of the year. Now think about that. That's 8 weeks of bad food, parties, alcohol, less exercise, more traveling, more emotional stress, worse sleep. And so if your body was already getting to the edge of having a heart attack, by the time you get through 8 weeks of the holiday season, I mean, more people. So things that help your heart, things that help blood pressure lowering is one thing that's simply linked is getting enough sleep. Lowering your caffeine. Caffeine increases blood pressure. So those of you that drink coffee in the morning and are on a blood pressure pill, I'd ask you to say, so you're taking one drug to wake up and another drug to lower the side effect of that drug. Now, one of them you can buy in the grocery store. One of them you have to have prescribed by a doctor. But is it really the blood pressure pill that's saving your life? Or maybe is it a lifestyle change that needs to occur? Same thing, if you don't exercise, stress on your heart has to pump blood through your body, and your heart and your arteries are a muscle. So if the muscle gets weak and you can't do the lifting required to pump your blood effectively, this is when you get pooling in your feet. It's not a lack of support hose. It's not a lack of like putting your feet up in the air. All you're doing is making it easy on your body to pump that fluid out. But really, what's the problem? The problem is you're not getting to the underlying cause. If you're overweight, I believe it's an estimated 7 miles of blood vessels get added per pound of fat, per pound of adipose tissue. So your heart has to work harder when you're overweight. It also can cause increased inflammation when you're overweight, and therefore constricts the blood vessels and can raise your blood pressure. When you talk about cholesterol is most essential for repair of your body. So when people have high cholesterol, it's often, or in most cases, due to their body being damaged. Worse food, more toxins, higher stress, whatever it might be. Cholesterol is there to repair. So does it really make sense if your body's being damaged to take a pill that lowers it and yet leave all the things that cause it? Think about that. What's the root or underlying cause? Lastly, toxicity. So going back to this book, The Paleocardiologist, from 2010 versus 1910, they estimate that someone in 1910, in all the toxins they came in contact with in their entire life through food, environment, pollution, whatever, that somebody in 2010 comes in contact with that every 2 days. Heavy metal toxicity is in vaccination, it's in amalgam fillings, it's in certain foods, it's preservatives, it's in, for instance, M&Ms. Titanium is one of the things that makes the thin candy shell that melts in your mouth, not in your hand. But also toxins to preserve food. So there's formaldehyde, which is what we use to preserve dead bodies. There's stuff like that in foods. There's anti-caking or anti-foaming agents on chips when they're deep fried. There's, just thousands and thousands of chemicals that you're exposed to, and chemicals in your body do damage your heart. They cause inflammation. They cause free radicals, which cause increased risk of sticky plaque. They do all this. So detoxing your body, or more importantly, avoiding the toxins, make a huge difference in overall heart and heart attack risk. Now, let's think about treatment for a second. Here's another statistic that I think would be very important to write down. So here, if you are on 3 prescription medications, there's a 50-50 chance that one of those medications is from a side effect of the other 2. So I'll say that again. If you're on 3 prescription medications, there's a 50-50 chance the medication that you're on is a side effect of the other 2. Now, if you go up to 5, there's a 100% chance the toxic chemical interactions of those medications are causing a side effect, and you're on one of those medications from the interactions. Medications are not studied for their interactions to other medications in most cases. Hear that again. Medications are not studied for the interactions that they had with each other in most cases. Now, I'll give you an example that hit close to home fairly recently. A close loved one of mine had a heart attack, and they already, due to some predetermined, so they had a unfortunate issue where they had a brain tumor at a younger age, and so to control the seizures from the brain tumor, there's multiple medications that have been required, which therefore then has damaged the thyroid, because of course your thyroid is the organ that's most sensitive to toxicity, and then it's starting to damage other parts of the body. So being on that many medications has caused interactions that have caused the need for more medications. And then by having a heart attack, they want you to be on 5 more medications on average for life. Now, if you're already on 4 or 5 medications and you know it's guaranteed that they're causing side effects, and you go from 5 medications to 10 medications, what's the likelihood that you're healthier long term? Just think about that. Be purely objective. What's the likelihood that you're healthier long term? Now, this is why it's so important to take control of your health, because medically, most medical doctors will leave you on all those drugs for life. And of course, decent chance that's what kills you. It definitely negatively affects your quality of life. And so anything that you can do to be healthier or be better or get off or not need those meds makes a huge difference. So what we're going to nearly conclude with for this first part of the masterclass is what the risk factors or what these drugs do and some natural alternatives for them. So first of all, cholesterol, high cholesterol, HDL, and the paleocardiologist, here's how you break down your blood work. Take your HDL and divide it by your total cholesterol. According to Dr. Jack Wolfson, if the ratio is under 5, so like if your HDL is 50 and you divide it by 240, your number would be 4.8 or 4.9, then you shouldn't take a medication, according to him. So taking that total, HDL is quote unquote your good cholesterol, but currently in America, due to a very corrupt set of research, they lowered the recommendation to be on a cholesterol lowering medication from under 240 to under 200. So if you're under 240, there's a decent chance you shouldn't be on a cholesterol lowering drug. For me personally now, for over 15 years, my cholesterol has ranged from 195 to 211. And for the majority of years that it's been tested in this country, I would be recommended to take a cholesterol lowering drug, even though my HDL is over 70, even though the ratio is often under 3. If you had handed that to a natural practitioner, they say, your cholesterol numbers are fantastic. If you gave it to a traditional medical doctor, due to the corruption of drug companies and forced recommendations, they would say, well, you're going to have to figure out how to get this down. And if you don't, you need to be on a drug. There's so many people that are getting poisoned from cholesterol drugs. And what's the side effect of cholesterol drugs? Cancer. In fact, many cholesterol studies show that while you might have a lower likelihood of a heart attack, you actually have a higher likelihood of death being on this drug. Think about that. A higher likelihood of death being on the drug, let alone all the miserable other side effects. Muscle fatigue, brain fog, dementia, Alzheimer's, mood disorders, sleep issues, the list goes on. That doesn't sound like a way that I want to go into retirement or be healthy, and yet people are getting on cholesterol drugs at earlier and early ages due to this corruption. Number 2, high blood pressure pills. So, well, first of all, what can you do for cholesterol? All the dietary, all the exercise stuff that we talk about are shown to lower bad cholesterol and raise good cholesterol. Exercise is shown to increase your cholesterol. Healthy eating, lower carbs. It's not lower cholesterol, it's lower carbs are shown to improve your cholesterol. If you need a supplement, red yeast rice extract is linked to lowering cholesterol, as well as CoQ10. So here's one last thing for I'm just going to say why drug companies are so corrupt. When you take a cholesterol lowering drug, specifically the statin, which is the most common type, what that does is it lowers your body's production, your liver's production of cholesterol, but it also lowers your liver's production of CoQ10. So if you have to be on a statin drug, your doctor should be required to tell you you need to be on a supplement called CoQ10, which we do carry in the office. And then you can also order the red yeast rice CoQ10 blend off our website, which is listed, rockford.maxliving.com. But CoQ10 is essential for your body's repair. It's essential for metabolism, so you don't gain unnatural weight. It's essential for energy. And so if you're taking this drug, you can have low energy, bad sleep, all this stuff because of what the side effect of what it causes. So again, remember, you have to be responsible for your own health. Blood pressure. So high blood pressure, often caused by inflammation in your body, causing narrowing of your arteries, or a weakness of your arteries and your heart to not be able to pump blood through, whether that's due to being overweight, due to being highly inflamed, or not exercising, or whatever it might be. Again, the solution to a high blood pressure is not necessarily a blood pressure pill. In fact, the 2017 blood pressure recommendations, which have since been reversed, showed that depending on your other health risk factors, you should not be on a medication if you're under 140 and under 90, or under 150 and under 90. But that was reversed, and more people are getting put on blood pressure pills unnecessarily at lower doses. And the reason that they actually raised the recommendations is that they found that the side effects of the blood pressure medication was killing more people than it was helping. But hear that again. It was killing more people than it was helping. What do blood pressure drugs do? They damage your liver. They damage your kidneys. They can lead to cancer. In the paleocardiologist, it talks about the number needed to treat. For many medications, it takes 200 people taking that drug every day to prevent one stroke or one heart attack. Yet almost all 200 of those people will have side effects. Hear this number as well. 9 out of 10 side effects are silent. So you don't know you're having the side effect. Hear that again. 9 out of 10 side effects are silent, meaning you don't know you're having them until you have the damage for a long period of time. Now, again, think about some of the other things. So hydration is essential for life. Your body being hydrated, hydration lowers your risk of cancer. It increases energy. It helps your body detox. So what's one of the things that if you really have bad blood pressure, they give you a diuretic. What does the diuretic do? It unnaturally takes water out of your body. Now, those people on a diuretic often drink coffee still. They don't drink as much water intentionally because they don't want to have to go to the bathroom all the time. So what's the long-term damage of being dehydrated? Also, the lower your body water, the higher your body fat. They're inversely related. The weight scale that we have at the office that I talked about in the past, the lower your body water, the higher your body fat. And if your body fat goes up, what tends to go up? Your blood pressure. So what are you going to end up on? More drugs, stronger drugs. Is it your fault? Is it your body breaking down? Or is it a side effect of the drug that you're taking because you're not getting to the root cause? So in summary of part 1, get to the root cause of the problem, make the change, take the action step, assess your medication, prevent or reverse the heart disease. The first word for this seminar is epigenetics. Epigenetics, EPI genetics. And remember, epigenetics are the light switch. Turn them on, turn them off, radically improve your life and your health, empower yourself. You have the ability. Have a very, very